Hello, Manny and Melissa.
Hi,
Hi.
how are you?
Good.
Good.
Um, how are you both?
We're here. We're hanging
Hanging in
in.
there.
We're in
Yeah.
isolation.
Good days
Yeah.
and bad days.
Is today a good day?
Today's been a busy day. I've had a lot of meetings and things to do for work. So because I'm still working, you know, so it's nonstop.
I have the Sybil Shepherd filter on. It's kind
Yeah.
of weird. It's like Vaseline glow here.
You have your glasses on.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't have my glasses on.
It is a little Vaseline. Um,
Yeah.
why don't you tell me, here's something I don't know. How did you both meet and when did you start dating?
This is the greatest question because we get it all the time.
And it's the greatest story. We don't know.
No,
We have
No.
no idea where we met.
Wow.
people ask me how I met her, and I said I don't know, and they look at me like I'm a jerk for it. I'm like, it's fair. She doesn't remember
don't
either.
either.
So.
It's one of those theater things where you kind of feel like you've always known the person, even if you haven't officially met. So we assume it was at the Fritz Theater somewhere way back when, like at a party, or we were cast in the same season, but not in the same shows. So we assume it was on one of their rooftop parties, but we have no idea. And then we just kind of have like always been friends. We've always kind of hung in the same circles, and so it just kind of evolved from there.
Yeah, I'm better at answering the first time I saw her than the first time we actually met.
Same, actually.
Yeah, but I remember
When's the
seeing
first
her in
time-
the show.
When's the first time you saw her?
Well, do you want me to tell the whole
Go
thing?
ahead.
The first time I saw her, it was Road to Mecca.
Road to Nirvana
No, Road to Nirvana
at the Fritz.
at the Fritz Theater. The show starts, the lights come up, and Melissa's laid out on like a lounge chair, but her face is covered and her breasts are exposed. So I saw her naked before I even saw her face.
And the theater was about this big, so it was very intimate. That was when I had no shame.
Yeah.
And when did you first see Manny?
Actually, it was probably the same season. He was cast in Midsummer Night's Dream as, who are you?
Oh, I was Lysander.
You were Lysander. So he was in the same season there. And then I remember seeing him in Cabaret at the Rep. So the Rep was before.
Mhm.
So the first time I saw him was in Cabaret at the Rep. And I just remember going, hey, he's a good dancer. That's all I knew. That's all I remember.
Wow, so it was his dancing ability.
It was.
Wow.
It was.
I was younger and thinner then.
So Melissa, you said that something about a rooftop party. So what was the rooftop parties? That sounds really fun.
Yeah, it was downtown. The Fritz was downtown. It's where is it now? It was on 10th? No, 4th Avenue. And they had this great little theater. It was the theater downstairs, and then upstairs they had apartments, and then on top there was a roof. And they always had all of their after parties there, and it was such a great theater hangout. We had that, and we had Nunu's. That's where we would always go, is those two places. And so that was just
Nunu's is still holding down.
Is it? I haven't been there so long. Oh my gosh. I hear everybody every now and then. I'll hear someone talk about Nunu's, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, so many good memories there.
Yeah.
It was just that was the theater place to hang out.
Yeah, it still is. I mean, because of those cheap drinks, and then there's a heavy pour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that hasn't changed.
That hasn't changed. I think there was a period there, and probably when I stopped going, where it became very much a hipster bar. But I think the theater people took it back over. So.
And you can get late night food there too. So
Yeah.
Yes.
You can get off a show and go there at 11, and they'll serve
big cozy booths, and everybody could fit in it, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Wow. So how about you both tell me your creative journey to now? I know a little bit about both, but I wanna hear from you.
Gosh. Oh, sure. Okay, so I mean, I don't know, when I got my very, very first taste of theater when I was in 2nd grade. And I went to Catholic school, and they randomly needed somebody to play Peace in the Easter play, and they just randomly picked 4 girls, and because we were the shortest ones, and so they picked us and we sent us to the auditorium, and they had us all like read lines or say lines back to them. And I was the only one who didn't need to have the line repeated to her. I just could say it. And I had and they were like, oh my God, you have so much energy. And it's like, oh, okay, sure. I don't know. So I did that play, and that was my first taste. And I did a lot of community theater before I went to college, and I went to college undergrad at UNLV, and I did my undergrad there, and then I came here to San Diego State and did my master's degree in musical theater, and I've been in San Diego ever since. So and now here I am.
Mine's kind of, it's a bit typical. I started in high school. I started as a sophomore because as a freshman, there was a girl I liked and she was taking drama. So I figured I'll take drama. That guarantees me being in another class with her. And I'll be doing something that she likes. Didn't plan for the fact that she'd be in drama 2 and I'd be in drama 1 and they weren't the same class at all. But once I was in the class, it just kind of clicked. It just felt like a place that felt natural to me. In fact, my sophomore year, I was doing theater, taking the drama classes, and I was also playing football. And I found I fit in better with the theater people than the football. I enjoyed playing football, but I didn't necessarily connect the same way with the teammates that I did with the people I was meeting in the theater. And I didn't get the same satisfaction out of it. So then I just continued doing it, went to a few junior colleges out of high school, moved down to San Diego because I wanted to go to UCSD, got into UCSD, did my undergraduate, and then stayed here pretty much the whole time, except for 1 year where I moved to Chicago. And then I ended up coming back here most of that winter to do shows for the San Diego Rets. So, and then Sean Murray asked me to come out and do another play right after that. And another friend convinced me when I said no because I couldn't afford it, that I had to do the play and he would help me. I said, he argued with me for like 40 minutes. And I'm like, I can't afford it. I'm already broke from the last time I went to San Diego to do shows. I have no money. I can't afford it. Sean can't afford to pay me enough. And after arguing with this friend for 40 minutes, I finally said, look, if you find me a place to live and you find me a job, I will just move there and then I will do the show. He called me 24 hours later and told me where I was going to be working and what job I had. So.
Wow. Do you both have some favorite shows or roles? I mean, for Dot, when you played Dot, that's one of my favorite things I've seen you do. And Manny, when I saw you in the Sam Shepard rep, that's some of the best, most freeing acting I've seen you do. I wonder if you have some roles or some shows you want to reflect on and about the experience that you're really proud of.
Oh, I'm going first on this one. Well, the one that comes back always right now is Last Wife, which, I worked with you on, and that show's one of my most recent favorites. The Sam Shepard was a lot of fun, especially getting to work with Fran, and Sean really let us be free and explore and do as much as we wanted to find in those roles. So that was a good one. Once, that was an easy one. One of the easiest shows I've ever done, I mean, as far as like, felt very natural and very comfortable, was Same Time Next Year with her. That's probably the easiest partner I've ever worked with.
Where did you
when
do
you're
that?
only 2 people on the stage, you really got to trust the other person, and there's nobody I trust more on stage.
Yeah, I was thinking about that one last night too. There's some really special memories. The show kind of evolved out of a fairly negative experience. We had a show canceled on us that was one of my dream shows, but it ended up being canceled on us. And so they decided they wanted to do a smaller show, and they came up with Same Time Next Year. And I'd always loved the movie, so I'm a huge Ellen Burst and Alan Alda fan. I thought they were amazing in it, and I was like, okay, sure, why not? And they wanted him to originally direct it, and I said, I think maybe he might want to be in it instead. That might be really fun to do that kind of show with him. So yeah, that one was really special.
Yeah.
Where did you
another really special one for me is I did Into the Woods. That was a really special one for me. Sunday in the Park was an amazing gift, and then following that up with being able to watch Linda Libby every night and understudying Gypsy was quite the summer for me. So those are 2 things I'll never forget that summer. It was amazing.
That's amazing. Where did you do Same Time Next Year?
New Village Arts.
Is that where you also did Into the Woods?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You have
very, very nice.
Yeah, you both have a long history there as well as, with Cygnet and New Village, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You started there at New Village.
I did. I worked there first, and I don't remember what season they were in, 6th season of there or so.
Mhm.
And then once I got into the first show, which was one of their last that they did at Jazzercise. In fact, I did 2 shows when they were still at Jazzercise, right before they opened the new theater in Carlsbad.
Mhm.
And one of both shows were actually supposed to open in that new theater, but they didn't finish the construction in time. So
It's nice to have 2 theaters that you can consider home theaters, and just being able to have that family in both places. We're really lucky for that.
Yeah. Now, do your kids, are they interested in theater?
Jack, no, he is
Bella, very much.
zero.
Yeah.
But Bella's been doing a couple of things around town. She's got Center Stage Productions up in Escondido. She did a couple shows there, and she's taking drama, and she's interested in it. She's got a big love for theater and love for musical theater. So we'll see what happens. She's always asking, "Is Signet doing any shows with kids? Can I go audition?" I was like, "Oh, not yet. Sorry."
What does Jack want to do? Does he know?
He's athletic. He
Yeah.
likes to do a lot of sports. He loves basketball. Used to love soccer. He loves gaming. He's kind of a typical 11-year-old. I don't know.
I don't think he's decided, and I don't think he's worried about deciding.
Nah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you, when you work together, what do you think, how has it been so successful for the both of you? Is there like rules you set out, like there's no pillow talk, or like, is pillow talk invited and great to keep the conversations going after rehearsals and stuff?
I don't know if it's invited. I mean, I directed her in a show, so that, there was a certain amount of feedback that had to happen. And if anything, I'm smart enough to know if I do open my mouth at the wrong time, she's going to let me know, and then shut up. Shut up. But for the most part, she asks me. She'll ask me about something, and at that point, I'll answer. But otherwise, no, not too much. The funny thing about doing same time next year is, there comes a point in every run of show where somebody kind of drops a line or goes up. And there was a night where I looked at her and I just went up. And I just kind of looked at her and I just raised my eyebrows and like, help. And she teased me all the way home about it. All the way home.
Duh.
The next night, she went up.
Did you tease her all the way home?
Oh, yeah.
Not as long as I teased him.
No.
He knew better. I forgot all about that.
So what are you doing now? Do you feel any need to pressure to stay creative, or are you taking the time to fill the well and do other things?
I don't know that it's pressure, but I do miss it, and it makes me sad that we can't, be creative outside of our 4 walls. Although I'm loving seeing how creative everybody is getting with, just their computer and their camera and their house, and writing songs and just singing. And so I'm really impressed with everyone. A little jealous every now and then, because I just go, how are they being so creative with, in this kind of stifling place, and so I'm kind of torn. I do want to do creative things, and so I'm kind of seeing what other people want to do, and if they want to figure out some songs to sing or something. I do miss it a lot. So more than I actually thought I would. I thought I'd be okay. I didn't have anything booked during this time, so I don't want to say lucky, but I haven't, knock on wood, had that disappointment of losing a show, except for the Musical Mondays. But not being booked, I kind of went, this feels like a loss, and it's really weird. It's kind of a weird situation.
Yeah, a bit. I mean, I didn't have anything booked during this time either, but I was in discussions for things in the fall, and those are all put on hold as well. I'm still busy with work, so I'm doing certain creative things, helping out Signet as it is, and then the only other creative thing I'm working on is actually completely outside of theater, because Steve Gobea, who he has pinball machines, and he started a couple years ago making toys for them and selling them because people saw them, got very interested. So he's made 3, and then recently I've been helping him out with some electronics and lights to install into these, and creating little light shows that go with it. So
Wow.
a different little outlet, something
I didn't know
different
he
to
could
play
do
with.
that. Is
My
Wow.
dad was an
Crazy.
electrical engineer. It's stuff that I never studied. I just kind of learned. Same with computers. My dad did it, so I learned it.
He's a regular software engineer over here, and like, who knew? Well, I did, but it's amazing.
Wow, that keeps you busy.
Yeah, a lot of soldering.
Yeah. That's wonderful. What do you have to YouTube? Is it just natural? You just already know it because of your dad, or do you YouTube videos of how to do it, or what?
The soldering and putting things together, no, I don't YouTube that stuff. I've learned how to program these little microcomputers just by researching it online, because once I saw one, I said, well, let me see how that works. And once I saw the code, it looks like most code. So I understood how it worked and was able to program it. As far as the microcomputer, the soldering and stuff, I learned a lot of it from my dad years ago. I took one electronics course in high school, so I got more experience at that time. But otherwise, it's just something I learned a long time ago, but now it's finally being used.
No, you both mentioned some of your favorite productions and roles. What do you think, what makes it important, or what makes it substantial for you and fulfilling? Like, what's if you could tell me like the perfect concoction scenario, rehearsal, performance, role, what would it be?
For me, one thing is a character that's very multi-layered, and isn't one note the whole way through. That's the great thing I think about The Last Wife is Henry is so mercurial, and pings through these different emotions and moods, and they're all honest. He's not necessarily trying to manipulate people. He just expresses what he expresses. So bouncing around that, and then learning how to try to manage them when you mess up, when the character is trying to correct the course or whatever. Things that are even challenging, like of Mice and Men, when I played Lenny, it was taking on a different character and a different persona. And that one was interesting because everybody was wondering where I based it. And when I said my kids, they assumed Jack, but it was always Bella, because Bella was a little older and a little more mature, so a little more in the mental age range that Lenny was, and communicated in the same way. So exploring that, although that one it was hard to do because I was so exhausted after every performance, because it was such a character that everybody knows. Most people have read the story. They have this mental picture of what Lenny is. And my concern every night going out there, every single night, didn't matter how successful the show was, before I walked on stage, I worried that the audience was going to see right through me, and that I wouldn't match what they believe Lenny should be. So it scared the crap out of me every time I walked on that stage, which of course exhausts you.
Right. That's one of the things I always try and start out shows with, is I always say, I'm going to be fearless. I want to be fearless. I want to be as brave as I possibly can be. So any kind of atmosphere that's going to allow for being fearless and making mistakes and making really big choices, and they're completely wrong, and that's okay for a little while. We'll figure it out from there. Just being able to really let go and be free and find the role from there. I like to play roles where it's out of the box for what might typically be cast. I might be cast in. That doesn't always get to happen sometimes, but I like to be as outside of the norm as I can. I think a lot of people wouldn't have necessarily maybe seen me as Mama Rose at that point, and because of she's a tiger, and people don't see me really like that. So being able to play that kind of role, even understudying and following the great, amazing Linda Libby, but being able to sink my teeth into that every couple of nights was a great gift, and that was a great atmosphere to learn in.
And the other thing that helps is the people around you. You
Yeah.
know, working with people like you and Sean, who are very encouraging and encourage the actors to explore and get things wrong and find ways about doing it. And then the actors you're on stage with, because you are going to be on stage with them every night.
And you have to feel safe.
You have to feel safe. You have to know that they have your back, and make sure they know you have their back. And that was one of the things about The Last Wife that worked so well, that everybody really liked each other. Everybody was pushing for the same goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there's these famous examples of actors that hated each other, but yet did several movies or
That chemistry.
and you kind of hear those stories, and I'm always like, yeah, I don't care if the product's good.
Yeah.
I don't want to work in those conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say that all the time. It's like, I would rather work with someone who's maybe a 10th less talented than with someone who's just a jerk and brilliant. I want to work with a human being.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree.
It might be a good experience for the audience, but it's not necessarily
Right.
for the people on stage.
But I think the audience can tell that. I think that deep down inside, they can tell when there's someone who's in it for themselves. They can tell.
Yeah.
We have to give them the benefit of the doubt. They know.
Yeah. I like to agree with that. Are there any like dream roles that you have always wanted to play?
How long you got? Oh, I've got time. Well, I mean, I'm a Sondheim file. My goal at one point was to have done all of his shows. There was a couple of shows that I would never be cast in, and for various reasons. But I'd love to play Mrs. Lovett in a full-on production. I'd still love to play The Witch. I'd love to play. I'd still like to get my hands on Diana Next to Normal. There's a couple parts there. Oh, I want to be in August Osage County too. I want to do that part really bad. So there it is. Put it out there in the universe.
Melissa, when I've loved A Man of No Importance for a long time, and there's a song that the sister sings with at the dining room table, and it's revealed that he comes after. And every time I've heard that song, from the first time I met you, I've always thought it just sounds like Melissa singing it. Like I can just hear her voice in this song. I think
I'm really excited. I'm very excited to do that. I don't know where it's landing right now. I don't know what's going on, but I'm really looking forward to when that happens.
Yeah, me too. What about you, Manny?
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten to play a bunch of roles, and I aged out of a bunch of roles.
Yeah.
I mean, I always would have loved to play Stanley in Streetcar, but I'm too old for that role. It doesn't make any sense anymore. I've always had a vision of a version of Taming of the Shrew and playing Petruchio, and I always wanted to do it in sort of the style of the 40s, like His Girl Friday. And really empower the woman as much as I can.
Yeah, we talked about that once where we were saying like Kate would be like a Katharine Hepburn kind of character.
Wow. Yeah, make sure modern enough that they're equals. And that's how it should be, I think, that they're equals.
Yeah.
So that I think I'm still eligible for that one.
Yeah.
Me too.
Opposite each other. Now, how do you think that no one knows the timetable of when theater will be back, but how do you think it'll shift and change?
Oh.
Yeah, it's so up in the air. I've seen the studies and the reports and the surveys, and it seems like as of right now, a lot, there's a percentage of the audience that's going to take their time coming back, and especially if we don't have a vaccine. I also think the longer it goes on, a lot of attitudes are going to change as more people go stir crazy and what have you.
I think that I want to believe that people really need us, and they need that blend of intimacy and community that really only theater can give you. So I believe that it's actually going to come back quicker than a lot of other people do, with obviously proper precautions. But I think that the audiences are really going to be ready to come back. Probably, in my optimistic view, by the end of summer. I think that I think they're kind of realizing how important artists are, because we're the ones that are, what's the word I'm thinking of? Comforting them right now. They're the ones, we're watching TV and movies and plays online and Sondheim's video birthday. I mean, we're doing all of that. That's what people are going to. So I think that people are going to be ready to come back. sooner than we think.
Can you lean in? I love what you just said, that theater is the perfect combination of intimacy and community. Can you expound upon that? Expand?
Well, sure. I mean, you get to see this story, a few group of people, we're all sharing the same words, dialogue, dynamics, whatever it might be, but we're all getting a different view of it. And then we can all go home and we can talk about it and we can share with each other. The story doesn't stop when the curtain stops and goes down. The audience leaves and they continue talking about that story, and they need that dialogue. They want to share what they're feeling. You know, that's why we're so important. That's why theater artists are so important, because we share so much.
And the shared experience is lost.
Yeah.
Watching Netflix and YouTube and stuff like that. You know, we can talk about it on Facebook,
you're not
but it's not
experiencing
the
it at the same
same.
time.
It's not the same as having that conversation. It's not the same as being in an audience and all emotionally reacting at the same time.
And differently at the same time. It could
feeding
be,
each other as well. You know, the audience affects the other audience members.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about YouTube, but I found initially it was great. I was like, oh, this is like an artist residency for me. I'll be able to read all these books and watch all these old movies that I wanted to be watching and reading but never had the time to.
Yeah.
But then after 4 weeks, maybe, I'd say, it got difficult for me, because, you don't really realize how much, for better or worse, your ego goes into what you do. Your ego goes into Signet, or your identity goes into theater making.
Yeah.
And then I found it hard to dream for a while. I was like, well, what am I dreaming about? What am I looking forward to? Because initially it was like all these shows or working on this new idea for something. And then you kind of have to reevaluate and go, maybe this is good. Maybe I need to figure out an identity outside of career and work. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to learn through this or something. I don't know.
Well, then, you can do that, and then you can find another way to create. You know, you're creating something in a new vision, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Discovering new parts of yourself, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're alone with yourself a lot.
And appreciating the other half that we kind of took for granted for a little while. I think, we're appreciating what we are now missing.
Yeah. Yeah, you miss it once it's gone, for sure.
Yeah.
What you've sort of answered why you think that theater is important. Do you want to, is there anything else to that?
Well, I mean, it's what theater's always done. It helps bring people together. It helps create shared experiences. It helps a lot of times tell the stories of what's going on in the past and the future and in the present. And I think there's going to be a lot of that coming out of this.
We're the truth
I think there's going to be a lot of new plays dealing with this and how different people coped with it. And a lot of people who have just been bottling stuff up will finally get the chance to witness it and let it out, because they've seen it and recognize it's not just them. I mean, I think theater provides a lot of outlets for a lot of different things for different people. That's why not all theater's the same. And I think that's why in some of these surveys, people are saying, do you want to come back and see, prefer to see comedies and things that are light? And people are, no, not necessarily. They want to see truth.
They want to see the truth. Exactly. They want to see the truth.
They want to see something that relates to them. And even if it's not positive, they want to know that they weren't alone in it.
Right.
And theater has the opportunity to do that, or put things in perspective in some way.
And challenge you and ask questions.
And challenge other people as well. Yeah.
So.
Too bad a lot of society doesn't like to be challenged nowadays, and they just all congregate together with like-minded people.
Yeah.
Hopefully someday we'll break through that and learn to have actual debates again and not just arguments.
Yeah. I have to check myself sometimes. On social media, I go, oh, I don't know.
Have you seen my page?
Yeah, I stay out of a lot of that political stuff on social media.
She
does. And I agree with what she says. I'm just like, I don't. It'll just be an argument because people don't necessarily listen. So it's like, if you want to have a conversation, great. I see Jason Heil doing this all the time. Jason, I think, is wonderful at it. And
he's really good at it.
Perfectly open to having a conversation, but as soon as somebody just makes an argument, he moves on.
He shuts it down. He's really good at that. But he's also really good at starting the conversation. I'm just kind of an agitator, so
You just express how you feel.
I do express how I
You just
feel
don't hold back.
with a lot of 4-letter words.
Or kids, teachers don't look at it.
That's great. Yeah, there is, you're talking about listening, and that is the key. I think it's what I learned from actors, The
the
great
biggest part.
actors know how to listen.
It's funny. I get into a lot of Facebook fights and stuff, but I do think of myself as an empath, so I do hear and feel what the other side is saying. I can see their side of it. Some of it it seems real clear to go on the other side. There's a path that you can go down. I hear what they're saying, I feel what they're saying, but it's not something I agree with. So,
And it's getting them to listen, and hear, and feel,
and empathize. That's what I think is lacking sometimes, is that empathy for another human being.
That's a skill that actors have, because I don't think if you're not empathetic, I don't think you can be a good actor. Plain and simple. You have to empathize. You have to empathize whatever character you're playing. It doesn't matter how good or bad they are. And
no judgments.
No judgments. And acting, it's cliche, but acting is more about reacting. So you have to listen to what's happening on stage. You have to listen to what your partner's doing and respond to that. You can't just respond to what the script told you if that's not what you're getting.
Yeah.
Or if the actor made a different choice. It might not be the choice that you thought they were going to make. It's not your job to make their choices. It's your job to respond to them.
Is there sort of a way of working for both of you that stays pretty consistent? I mean, you're talking about like acting is reacting and living in the moment, but are there other things that, like, every time you get a script, there's this one thing you do, or first rehearsal, you're always going to X? Anything like that?
No, because everything's so different sometimes. And every play calls for something different. We study all these different methods in college, but for me, they don't no one particular method works.
I agree.
And some things work better for one show and some things work better for another show. It just depends on it. Sometimes you need to be big and broad, and it's a different style. So, you hinted all the stuff you learn in Commedia.
Yeah.
And then another thing, you have to be really grounded, and I'm using things from like Suzuki and a lot more Meisner. It all depends. The one thing I know is that it's really hard for me to memorize all my lines unless I get on my feet and look at the other actors in the eye and connect the actions and the thoughts.
And the movement with all of that.
It becomes very connected.
I agree. Yeah, otherwise you're just learning it by rote. I can't do that. I have to learn it on my feet so that we have that the action is following the movement, and the words are coming from where you're going, and that kind of thing. I'm a little jealous of people who can just come in off book, but I can't do it. I have to associate it in that moment.
When I'm on stage, I'm not sitting there thinking the whole time, what's my line? This is my line. I'm trying to be in the mental headspace the character's in, thinking the thoughts they are thinking, feeling the things they're feeling. So if I'm just thinking of words, there's nothing to actually create or live by or show, or feel. They're just words on a page.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite definitions of acting is Sanford Meisner, and he says acting is the reality of doing under imaginary circumstances. And it's the reality of doing part, and I think, I've seen you work a lot, Manny, and there is something about you that it's like the talking is great, but you got to do it. You got to feel it in your body. You got to feel it in your bones. And I think for most actors, that's true. I think some actors need to talk, but you're like, let me do it, and we can talk a little bit after.
Well, yeah, sometimes and I remember moments in rehearsals when I first was working with Sean. He'd give me a note and he'd walk away. Then he came back and I was just staring, like, deep in thought. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just working through the note. I have to know how it processed that. It's not just words."
I do that too.
So how's the character processing that? Because you want the end result here, but it probably starts 10 lines earlier.
Right.
And figuring out what was the trigger and what does that make the character feel, and how do I get to that action, and what creates that action.
Mm.
You know, and you're gonna spend a lot of time on stage. You don't talk. You have to fill it.
Yeah.
You know, so there still has to be an emotional journey going through that. That's not necessarily distracting. That's not stealing focus, but it keeps you in the show so that you're ready for your next moment, and you're there for that other actor in the way that they need.
Mm. Does it change at all in a musical versus a drama?
Oh, this is where you're going to hear a lot of people say different things, but I try really hard not to treat the story of a musical any differently, or the dialect.
Yeah.
Like, to me, the songs are the dialogue. It's going to be a little heightened because it's a musical. And you know, that old thing where it's like, I sing because I can't speak anymore. I dance because I can't sing anymore. You know, it's like the emotion. It is heightened, but you have to still treat the actions the same. You know, the intentions are the same. So I don't think of it as too much different, like a lot of other people do, but I think it still comes from the same foundation.
You
Yeah.
exercise different muscles, but
Yeah.
I am the same way. In fact, you know, when I was in high school, I was one of those snobby kids. Like, I don't like musicals. It doesn't make sense why they stop and sing. The story stops and
those
they
people.
sing. And because I've seen a lot of just very rote musicals, and it wasn't until I actually saw Sondheim when I saw a little Sweeney Todd with Gene Stapleton of all people playing Mrs. Lovett, that I saw a musical where I felt like the story just continued right through the song. The
He's
song
so good at
added
that.
to the story. It wasn't just
Mhm.
stop and tell me a little story. And if you took it out, the story would all still be there. You take out
can't
the
do that.
music in Sondheim, the story's gone.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So then I started having a new respect for it. And when I approach it, you know, it depends on the musical. I have different muscles, different shows. You know,
Yeah, Once is going to be different than Little Shop. There's going to be different styles.
Once
and,
or
you know,
Gypsy were different.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
just an actor, and I, you know, would sing once in a while and continue on a story. And even in Gypsy, you know, sometimes the songs I was singing were celebrations, and that's what the moment was. But you can play that honestly. Versus like when I did Return from the Forbidden Planet, that was just like silliness and fun and camp. And my character is very extravagant and larger than life, and it was a totally different style.
Mm. So can you tell us like just a little bit of like backstage gossip or like a funny story from something that happened at Signet that you feel comfortable saying?
As Signet?
Oh, that's.
No, I worked there.
That wasn't on the homework assignment. Hold on.
Maybe not at Signet, just in
No.
general.
I'm the worst. I never remember anything. I have like, my brain is a sieve. I have Samuel Beckett from Quantum Leap brain. I don't know. It's Signet. We got to come back to that question. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Or if I do, I really wouldn't want to tell because the people will know and then I'll get in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, there's always people talking behind stage, and I think most of the time I should stay there.
Yeah, that's true. There's something.
You know, it's sometimes a place where we can vent, and we should let the people vent and then respect it. That's all it is. You know, or sometimes we're just being silly, but if somebody else finds out, they might.
I have a good one.
misinterpret
Wait,
it.
I have a good one. Oh wait, I forgot. I have a good one. All right, so during Little Shop of Horrors, Gino Carr was in it, and he just came back from Come From Away on Broadway, but he couldn't do the extension, so we were saying goodbye to him. And I, as much as I hate pranks, I kind of started playing some pranks on him. He was fastidious about his space. Like, it had to be alphabetical. I mean, he was just a neat freak. I'm a neat freak. He's a neat freak. So every now and then I'd come in and I'd move some things around. Then one day I took his whole space and I put it into the women's dressing room. The whole space. I'll put it in there so he'd find it. Then one day I just took all of his stuff and I would like put it coming down the stairs. Like, everything would be coming down the stairs leading to his spot. And it all culminated to his last day, where I came in early with the help of some of the other cast members, and we individually gift wrapped all of his stuff on his space, including his chair and his mirror. So he had a great going away party because he had to unwrap everything. It was really funny. I don't know if he really appreciated it. I think we gave him angina, but we enjoyed it. It was hilarious.
I love that.
You know what? You probably don't know that Gio and I, every night at the very end of Last Wife, when we were back there, we had like a little tiny dance party right before we went on for the funeral. Right before this very somber moment.
Didn't you
But
guys
there
have
was
to
music,
do like the,
and we were doing things. Yeah,
floss?
yes, I was.
You taught him.
I was doing the floss, and he was very impressed with that. And then I look over, and Allison would see us from across the way. She was in the opposite wing, so she'd either be laughing or she tried to dance with us.
That's the kind of stuff we do backstage.
Yeah, we had.
Don't tell the directors.
It started like
I love it.
the second weekend, and then Gio and I pretty much did it every night for the rest of the run.
That is so cute.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any show and tell, like anything from your house you want to show us and talk about?
We do, because he didn't do his homework.
No.
He's cheating off the kid next to him. So,
That's why I brought you.
right. So this is our little Winnie the Pooh stuffed animal. Manny and I are both Disney files. We love going to Disney. So why don't you tell the story? This is really coming from you. So this is the bear that he wrapped up on Christmas Day, holding a little engagement ring for me to open. So this is what he used to propose to me. So this is like 18 years old. That's how long we've been together and engaged. So, and he's still in good shape. The 100 Acre Wood characters are my favorite. So that's what he used. Winnie the Pooh.
Oh.
Yeah, I can give you. Well, I won't show, but I will tell. And it, and I noticed that Matt in the interview you did yesterday had something similar. But there's a little statue that Sean and I have been passing back and forth and hiding on each other for about 12 years. So it's a statue that was in the office one day and it's on Sean's desk, and I think I was teasing him about it. And then pretty soon I found it suddenly on my desk, and then I was hiding it in his office. And we've been going back and forth for like the longest time with this thing. The point where, last time Sean gave it to me was during Gypsy, when I walked into my dressing room and it was sitting there on my spot. And I hadn't seen it in like 3 years at that point. Sean hasn't obviously seen it.
They're in the long haul right now.
Because he hasn't said anything. So I'm surprised he hasn't come across it yet.
What is the statue?
I don't want to do that, only because it was a gift to Sean, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but
that's great.
It's not a statue you want to find sitting on your desk.
No.
And Manny, you were there when like the whole idea for Signet came about, right? It was like you were.
I was at the first meeting where Sean and Bill got some friends together, and it was most of the people that ended up on the first board, saying they were interested in starting a theater. They had this idea, they had this name for it already. It was basically just people with different backgrounds saying, "What do you think? Do you think this will work? Would you support this?" And which, of course, we all said yes. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I was on the first board. I was the first board president. I helped them with the whatever construction we had to do in the first theater, which is now Moxie Theater. And then I didn't even come on staff until 2007, because I was already working. I was already working in Old Town, at the theater in Old Town, for the previous producers. Right. So I've been in that theater for 21 years
Forever.
Now. Yeah.
Wow. So you've seen it change and grow.
Yeah, I've seen everything from Forever Plaid to La Caja Falls.
Wow. Well, do you have any final words you'd like to say or tell us?
Honey?
I don't know.
No, I mean,
thanks for talking to us. This was fun.
Yeah, it's good seeing you again.
Yeah.
You.
Hopefully we'll get to work together again soon.
Hopefully we'll work together someday.
I know.
Looking forward to this, being over and getting to see everybody and hang out, I know a question you didn't ask. You didn't ask who we wanted to have dinner with.
Oh yeah, who do you want to have dinner with?
The answer is very simple. One, if I had a dream thing that couldn't exist, it'd be having dinner with my parents and my dad, who's already passed away.
Mm.
But I want to have dinner with friends. I want to have dinner with my friends Steve and Trisha. I haven't had dinner with Bill and Sean in a long time. I need to do that all the time. You know, I'd almost want a big group gathering with all the friends and just all go out to dinner and, you know,
That'd be
connect
fun.
and see how everybody's doing and catch up.
Yeah, I love that. At Nunu's.
At Nunu's, yeah. There's more drinks.
Strong drinks.
What about you, Melissa?
Mine's not as like gushy and like sweet. Mine's just like, I was thinking of people that, you know, kind of inspired me throughout my life and out throughout my career, and you know, other actors and things like that. One would be Stephen Sondheim, just because he's been such a hero of mine, and I've learned so much of how to act through a song through him and through his music. So he'd be one. Then I was kind of torn between like Carol Burnett and Madeline Kahn, because they've been such inspirations in terms of comedy and just being just funny, brave, brazen broads. You know, I love that because they're risk takers and they're fearless. And then the other person I thought of was just someone who I kind of grew up watching, and just there was something about him that just I was drawn to, and that's Robin Williams. You know, he had such growth from being just a, you know, cooked up comedian to being a really, really great actor, and knowing how to use comedy to get to the heart of things. And so that's what I love. So mine's not as sweet as Manny's is. Should have saved his for last.
No, I love that. You know, Melissa, I don't know if you know this, or it might have been in some review, but Pat Launer one time told me, she said, there's no actor that has the ability to use their sensuality to their advantage the way that Melissa Fernandes can. I thought that was such a powerful, beautiful compliment to your work. Yeah.
Wow, that's nice. I like hearing that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I wonder if I'll remember how to do that after all this. I don't know.
You can't think about it. You don't think about it now. You just do it. It's natural.
Yeah. Well, it was good to chat with you both.
You too.
Thank you.
I hope to see you in person
sooner
rather than later.
Yes.
Sooner. Definitely.
Definitely.
Mwah.
Walk 6 feet apart on the beach.
That's right.
Yeah, we can do that.
That's right. We can as of yesterday. No, Monday.
Yeah.
Right. Bye.
Mwah.
Bye.
See you later.
Mwah.